There were once 7 sisters, daughters of Atlas, known as the Pleiades. Atlas made the mistake of warring against Zeus, the king of the gods, and he was punished. Tasked with holding up the sky for all eternity, Atlas was no longer able to protect his daughters. One day, Orion happened upon the 7 sisters, probably while they were bathing, because let's face it, that's how Greek mythology works. And he was overcome by lust. He attacked the Pleiades with ill intention. The sisters fled, but Orion was a skilled hunter. From that day forward, no matter where the sisters went, Orion was always a step behind. Zeus felt sympathy for the sisters. To save them from Orion, he turned the 7 sisters into stars so that they could escape into the sky and be free from the man who would do them harm. One of the sisters, however, fell in love with a mortal man. She left the safety of the stars to be with the one she loved. When she left, the Pleiades lost a single star, which is why the Pleiades constellation is called the 7 Sisters, but only has 6 stars. The story of the Pleiades is possibly the oldest story known to man. The reason that this could be the case is that there's a very similar story told by Aboriginal people about 7 sisters who were hunted and escaped into the stars before one of the sisters was lost. The Aboriginal tribe that tells this story had no contact with the rest of the world for the past 100,000 years. 2 distinct cultures completely cut off from one another told the exact same story for millennia. I bring up the ancient story of the Pleiades because it illustrates a very important point about storytelling. The stories that withstand the test of time are about hardship and triumph. They're stories with difficult problems and hard-fought solutions. If you can master the art of problem and solution-oriented storytelling, then you can write stories that will last. Problem and solution-oriented writing is actually a pretty simple concept. Your characters have a problem or a need, and they work to find a solution to the problem or a way to achieve their goal. Ta-da! You get the picture. Thanks for tuning in. Let's go home. Okay, not really. As with all the writing topics that I teach, there's a hitch. The difficulty comes in the fact that your entire story needs to be riddled with problems and solutions. If your character has a smooth ride from start to finish, then you have a boring story. And you're better than that. I believe in you. You are the chosen one. Look at the tale of the Pleiades. Problem. The sisters had their protectors stripped away from them and they were attacked. Their solution was to run. But then a new problem arose. Their attacker was a skilled hunter, the greatest hunter ever known. No matter where they ran, the hunter followed. The solution was to escape to the stars where the hunter couldn't reach them. But even then, one of the sisters still had a problem. She was in love. Her solution was to give up her immortality and the safety of the stars in order to be with the one she loved, even though it put her in greater danger. The story of the Pleiades is a roller coaster ride from start to finish, and it should be the same for your story. The characters should face major obstacles littered along the path to their ultimate desire, just like the trash along any good old American highway. That was a joke, but seriously, you guys, don't throw your trash out your car windows. What is wrong with you? Getting back on topic, your character needs to find creative solutions to problems as they appear, inching ever closer to their ultimate goal. My personal opinion is that you need a problem and a solution in every single scene throughout your story. It will help your pacing and it keeps your story moving constantly forward. Problems are the fuel that runs the Energizer bunny of your plot. Hashtag not sponsored, but also hashtag would totally accept a sponsorship. Hit me up, Energizer. Me and my 100 subscribers will make you proud. If you feel a little off-kilter about how to achieve problem and solution-oriented writing right away, then don't worry. There's a simple tool that you can use to get started organizing your writing in a way that makes the process easy. In fact, it's a tool that most of us learn in some form or another in elementary school. No, it's not nap time. Although, yes, nap time should be the key to all success in the universe. I'm talking about a story map. If you can't remember your lessons from your early years or you were never taught about a story map, that's all right. I didn't even remember it till I was 30 and I write for a living. Story maps are pretty simple in their structure and they're even easier to use. In fact, you can actually find all sorts of templates for story maps online to help you out. And keep in mind, you don't have to feel locked into any particular style of story map that you find. After you get more confidence using it, then you'll start to recognize what's better for you and your writing style. Feel free to adjust your story maps as needed, but keep in mind the necessity of a problem and a solution in every single scene that you write. Let's take a look at my personal story map to give you an idea of what it looks like and how to use it successfully. Now, I'm a plotter to the nth degree. I need my story map to be well organized. That's why I include so many details into my story map. Essentially, I ask the basic journalistic questions of each scene. Who, what, when, where, how, and why. Who is asked by owls and answered through the characters involved in the scene. What is answered through the major story events that occur in the scene. When is answered through the time and day section. Where is a question of setting. How is the problem and solution to the scene. Why is all about the motivation. In addition, I also keep track of my themes and metaphors that I want to include in each scene to pack in a little more meaning into each part of the story. You don't necessarily need all of this information for your story map. You could just as easily use a story map that just asks, what's the problem and what's the solution? Be bold, be basic, who cares? It's your story. It really can be that simple. But this particular map is what I use, and I'll show you how I do it with a scene for a story I'm currently working on. I want an opening scene for my story that packs a punch and nicely sets up the themes that will come into play later on. This is Act 1, Scene 1. The themes are family, oppression, transcendence, death, sacrifice, and corruption. Major story events include the hook and life as usual. Later on, I might go into more detail, but since it's the opening, then this is all I need. Characters are the main character, the sister, the puka, and elementals. Time and day. Let's say it's just before sunset, and I'll call this day 1. Actually, let's make that afternoon. I could use the day of the week, the calendar date, or anything else I wanted here, but I mostly want to track the passage of time, so this is fine for me. For setting, let's say we're at the marketplace in the Swoop, which is in the city's slums. And motivation is going to be to make money at the market so they can feed themselves and the other residents of Garbage Town, which is the homeless encampment. All that leaves is the problem and solution. With all the information I have here and a little help from the plot I've already crafted for my story, I can decide that the problem is going to be that no one is coming to their stall to buy anything. To enhance the theme of oppression, we can say that maybe the city guards have taken up station in front of the ferry section of the market and they're intimidating people away from that area. Even other fairies are avoiding their stall because it's clear that the main character is a tiefling fae, a type of fairy resented by others because of her contract with elementals. This is causing an argument between the main character and her sister because the main character has never learned to control her powers as a tiefling and can't force her elementals to hide. The solution will need to come from the main character. She's a tinkerer despite her sister's opposition to such mundane human things. Her solution will be to demonstrate her magic technology in front of their stall. She draws the attention of fairies and humans with her display and is able to finally draw in customers. But then the guards see the display and accuse them of using magic to trick humans. The guards begin to break down the shop and even try to harm the main character and her sister. Their friend, the puka, intervenes and helps them to escape with the meager money they were able to make that day. Both sisters are upset until the puka reveals that he stole a few expensive trinkets from the guards that he can pawn in a human shop to get them the money they need to feed their community. Even within the solution of this story, I set up a secondary problem and a secondary solution that my characters face to add a bit more give and take to the story. I can't help it. At this point, it's just wired into my system to cause problems for my characters. If you're like me and you want your story to wander between tension and relief to keep your audience on edge, you can actually add in secondary and even tertiary problems and solutions that lead to the ultimate goal of each scene. It plays with your audience's emotions and adds an extra level of danger that can make for an exciting read. If you'd like a bit more instruction on how this works in a piece of literature, then you can use my good friend Redlining. Redlining is the process of breaking down a successful piece of literature into its parts to see how it works. Think of it like reverse engineering. Pick a scene from your favorite piece of literature and use your preferred story map to break it down. Figure out the setting, what characters are involved, and identify each problem and solution that occurs before the end of the scene. How many problems did you find? How many solutions were there? Were any of the problems in the scene left unresolved? If so, did those unresolved problems make you want to keep reading? Each of these questions will help you better understand how to write your problems and solutions to better lead your audience through the story. For a bit of practice, try taking the story map from the work that you redlined and try to write a short story using those same problems and solutions. You'll get a feel for how to include that type of information into your story, and it will also help you understand how each problem and solution connect to each other. You'll get a good understanding of how to use a story map effectively and how to line up your problems and solutions in an engaging way to tell a story. With a bit of practice and a little structure to get you started, you can easily master the art of problem and solution-oriented writing in order to write stories that will last. Just keep in mind what obstacles your characters face in each scene and figure out the creative ways that they overcome those obstacles to get the thing that they want the most. Do you want more videos from me about how to improve your writing? Check out the video on top about how to write stories with a large cast of characters. Otherwise, click on the bottom video to see what YouTube recommends. As always, thank you so much for joining me today on CC Writes. I hope you enjoyed our time together, and I will see you later.